Jay here for Stretford Paddock, that's Joe Smith, and this is breaking news. You can see from the thumbnail, Qatar win takeover race. The breaking news is that it seems as though Manchester United, or the owners or the Glazers, have decided to negotiate exclusively with the Qatar bid, which is Sheikh Jassim's bid, which means it looks like Sir Jim Ratcliffe is out of it, which means now, if it's between Qatar and no one, the next owners of Manchester United will be the Qatari bid, which is Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad.
Correct.
Give us your initial reaction
massive.
to that.
Coming out of Reuters, which are obviously not your usual kind of source for Man United news, but obviously with this being a financial story rather than a footballing story, it makes sense that someone like that would break it. We'll get all the details. We'll get the full article up very shortly as well. But yeah, massive. This is a period of exclusivity, and according to the article, that means that for the allotted period, Manchester United cannot negotiate with any other bidders. So it will be the Qatari bid only that is being sort of thrashed out and fine-tuned during this exclusivity period. If apparently Jim Ratcliffe were to make another bid, that could then open up that exclusivity and allow other people back into the negotiations. But for now, this period of exclusivity means clearly the Qatari bid is in the lead, and not just in the lead, but the one you would expect to take over at Manchester United. This is the first indication, this is the first of its kind for Man United. No one has entered this exclusivity period before. It's not like they're going back and forth between Sheikh Jassim and Jim Ratcliffe. This is the first time this has happened. This is massive breaking news, and this is the first real big indication we've seen basically since this started of who is going to be the next owner of Manchester United. Absolutely massive.
It is. Just before we get into all that, I also want to say as well, rest in peace Gordon McQueen. We had the sad news that United legend passed away. I think at the age of 70. If you don't know who Gordon McQueen is, have a little look. Came from Leeds as a defender, helped us win the FA Cup. My dad, who watched him, said he was an absolutely fantastic player. Always got stuck in, always gave his all. A proper fan's favourite, and thoughts, go out to his family on such tragic news. Loads of people in the comments, as you would expect. Loads of people speaking about, obviously mentioning Gordon McQueen as well, speaking about this latest news. It's obviously a developing story. As and when we get more, we'll give you the information. But at the moment, it looks like Joe was saying, it was Reuters who seems to be leading the way. If we can just roll back a little bit, because it's been a bit of a hectic sort of couple of hours.
It's been a bizarre few hours, hasn't it?
So we go back sort of how this all developed. The initial sort of frenzy was started at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, or maybe a little bit earlier, about 1:30 this afternoon, when Rio Ferdinand did a video saying that he'd been told that it was the Qatari bid that had been successful. I think he was about to get on a train. He did like a quick sort of 4-minute video saying that he'd heard that the Qatari bid was successful and there was going to be an announcement imminently. He said even within days or within hours, he actually said. So that was something that set everyone into a bit of a frenzy. Then there was this sort of story broke, or people sort of posted on Twitter and posted on social media about Company's House, about the 9-2 Foundation being registered on Company's House and the date being today's date. So a lot of people looking at that and going, well, Rio said this. 9-2 Foundation, which is obviously Sheikh Jassim's foundation, have registered, which indicates they're moving forward and may be ready to make a bid. Then the latest bit of news on the back of that was this one from Reuters. There's a sort of story. It says, United would not be allowed to negotiate with any bidder other than Sheikh Jassim for the exclusivity period. It could not be learned how long this period may last. The situation remains fluid, and a new bid from Ratcliffe could prevent Sheikh Jassim from securing exclusivity. So the ball's in his court then, isn't it? If Sir Jim Ratcliffe wanted to make a fresh bid and go, look, I've got more dough to put on the table, that could change things. But as it stands at the minute, it seems that Qatar are almost there, basically, because they've been given this exclusivity, not Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So obviously, from the Glazers' point of view, it's the Sheikh Jassim bid that seems more sort of just a better bid for them. For whatever reason, desirable, thank you. A more desirable bid, whether that's because of the money, I presume it's because of the money they're getting rather than anything else. But we know that with the Sheikh Jassim bid, from the reports we had, there was a lot more sort of promises around infrastructure, around the stadium, around all that sort of stuff as well. Got loads of super chats and loads of comments to get through, so I'm just going to power through some of this. Abhinav Verma says, not going to lie, my heart died a little. Not a fan of State taking over. Also, shout out to Joe for being a great sport last week with all the jokes. Abhinav Verma's been a member of the academy for 26 months. Matthew Coward says, the Glazers have messed me up. I can't get excited about anything United related for the favourite all falling apart. Get them gone. Glory, glory, Man United. He's been a member of the academy for 30 months. Social Anxiety TV says, ultimate good conscious versus bad conscious battle. I know it's not a good thing, but I can't help but be a little bit excited. Difficult. I mean, listen, we've all wanted the Glazers gone. You know, regardless of whether you're a big fan of the Qatari bid or Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I think you're allowed to rejoice in the idea that the Glazers are going to be going, because that's something I think all of us have wanted. I don't know. So I've certainly wanted since 2005, although it does throw up other questions. If it is going to be Qatar and it is going to be Sheikh Jassim, is this a Qatari state bid? It certainly looks like that, doesn't it, if we're being brutally honest.
Yeah.
I don't think we can be too naive about it, but the sort of, you know, the big news at the minute is the fact that he's moving forward and the Glazers looks like they're going, because I think with Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid, one of the sort of caveats and one of the offers on the table was to keep them on, which did leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. I know it wasn't going to be them in control, but it was still going to be the Glazers at Manchester United Football Club, which seemed to turn a lot of fans off Sir Jim Ratcliffe, didn't it?
Yeah,
because
massively.
6 months ago, maybe a year ago, everyone wanted him. I remember doing a live video when he was speaking to his Ineos members as part of a sort of Q&A, and he was asked about United, and everyone in the comments and the chat was saying, you know, we need Sir Jim, Sir Jim, Sir Jim, Sir Jim. Then when Qatar got involved, a lot of people were saying, well, I prefer Qatar because they seem to have more money. But then there was still a lot of people like going, well, it's sports washing, it's state-owned, I'm not into that. But when the sort of rumours or the reports came out that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was offering the Glazers the opportunity to stay at Manchester United, whether that was for a few years or whatever, then that seemed to turn a lot of people off, didn't it? And we saw with some of the protests how it became this full sale only thing, and people were skewiffing that into meaning that they wanted all 100% of the club to be bought. When I spoke to people behind the protest, they were saying it wasn't that, it was more a case of they wanted all the Glazers to be bought, which
because at the minute I've never seen, I mean, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never seen anyone get mad at the people who currently own the non-Glazer 31% of Man United. I've never even seen them named, really, let alone, you know, people having a problem with them. So I think if anyone had just bought out the 69% the Glazers own, that is the equivalent of a full sale, isn't it? Obviously, Sheikh Jassim apparently wants to go one step further than that, buying up that 69% that the Glazers own and buying the further 31% that is owned by a sort of cluster of businesses and people on the stock market. He wants to take full ownership of every single asset that Manchester United owns. I mean, we've got a graphic here. Let's get into that, and we'll sort of break this down sort of as the story is at the moment. So this is exclusive to Reuters. United negotiating exclusively with Qatar's Sheikh Jassim in $6 billion plus sales talks. Manchester United is negotiating granting exclusivity to the consortium led by Qatar's Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani in the talks to sell itself for more than $6 billion. People familiar with the matter said on Thursday the Qatari offer is currently being viewed by the Glazers more favourably than a bid from British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe, founder of chemicals producer Ineos. The sources add Ratcliffe's offer envisions that the Glazers would keep some interest in Manchester United. This is a massive step forward, isn't it? And I think almost feels like an inevitable one. When you stack up the two sort of people or sets of people behind each bid, you're looking at Ineos, which is a massive company, you know, a turnover of multiple billions or multiple tens of billions per year, which is gigantic. And you know, compared to me and you and the average person, that is a gigantic sum of money. But compared to the sort of supposed wealth available to, you know, the son of the former Prime Minister of Qatar and a member of the royal family, that's sort of fucking fuck all, innit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what, 40 billion? Yeah, nice. I've got that in my wallet.
I know.
You know, just on the face value, it always seemed to be the case to a layman like me that at some point that sort of infinite wealth that Qatar seemed to hold would tell in the end. That ability to have things up front, and from what we've seen and read, there seems to be more of an emphasis in that part of the world on not sharing the ownership of a business. That was something that we were told, and that's sort of done the rounds. Different journalists reporting that Sheikh Jassim would never have a situation where he's sharing the ownership with the Glazers, as Jim Ratcliffe kind of had proposed. And it always made sense to me that eventually Qatar would win.
Yeah, we all said that. We said that, didn't we?
It just made the most sense.
Saying it, you know, the other day when we were on the live, it was like, you think that if they do have the access to this Qatari fund, it's almost unlimited, like you said.
Yeah.
You can't see them coming into this and then saying, oh, well, we're not going to pay the amount that the Glazers want. Sooner or later, you felt that they were going to. Simon Stone says, is this just gone out now?
Yeah, this is
a minute ago. So, Man United ownership, no exclusivity granted. Told talks continue with multiple parties.
What's going on then?
So he's completely contradicting what Reuters have said, which is that exclusivity has been granted to Sheikh Jassim. Also contradicting what Rio Ferdinand was suggesting earlier, that he was expecting an announcement imminently that it was going to be Qatar that had been successful. So
what is this now?
I think we've cleared that up. Basically, what's happening?
Yeah, I certainly feel like I know what's going on. That's
it's
for sure.
either Sheikh Jassim has been granted exclusivity.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
That's why the company's been registered on Company's House, sorry. Or he hasn't been granted exclusivity. No one's been granted exclusivity. And literally nothing has changed at all. Like, according to Simon Stone, who is relatively reliable, Simon Stone doesn't always go first, but he usually goes right. He's not one for breaking news. He's one for usually getting his ducks in a row and then letting you know. Now, he's saying no exclusivity. Told talks continue. Now, so that's confusing.
That to me, and I don't know this, but this is just my speculation, sounds like it must have come from Jim Ratcliffe's side. Do you know what I mean? Because that sounds as though Jim Ratcliffe's team have gone, well, we're still talking with them. What do you mean there's exclusivity? We're on the phone to them now, kind of thing. You know, talks told that talks continue with multiple parties. That's either United saying that or Jim Ratcliffe saying that, isn't it? Yeah. Because presumably the Qatari side wouldn't know whether the Glazers are talking or not.
My friend who works in a newsroom has just messaged.
Yeah. Breaking news from Jay Mott here.
And everything's just come from Reuters, according to them. There's no one else who's got this about exclusivity. It was getting it stood up anyway. There's nothing from Sheikh Jassim, no comment from United, nothing from the Glazers. It's just, as far as we can see at the minute, it's Reuters who are running with this. And everything else is coming from them. So, you know, remember that kid in Cardiff with the website?
Yeah.
Who was patient zero?
Yeah.
It seems Reuters are the ones that are...
The thing with Reuters are, they're not shit.
No.
They're a big financial company.
You know, this isn't sort of the Daily Sport.
No.
This is someone you think would be reputable or is reputable.
Yeah.
Also, it's not a football-known site or agency. It's a news agency.
Yeah.
So if they're running with it, you think they'd have some information that would give you that. So whether that's someone from the Rain Group, whether it's someone from the Glazer side of things, whether it's someone from Qatar, whether maybe even Sir Jim Ratcliffe's side of things. But at the minute, for people I've spoken to in that newsroom, they can't get it stood up basically other than Reuters. So Reuters are reliable, but there's no one else giving any statements, no one else giving any stories, no one else indicating that they can back this up. Hence the reason Simon Stone will be doing exactly the same as what's going on in the newsroom I'm chatting to. It's my old gaff. He'll be doing the same. He'll be trying to get this stood up and going, look, we've seen this in Reuters. Can anyone confirm it?
Yeah.
And as far as he can see, no one has confirmed it yet. Well, doesn't mean they won't.
But he's not to sort of correct you by any means, but he's not saying not had anything confirmed.
No.
He is literally countering the Reuters story. He's essentially asserting his own information that, again, I'll read it again, Man United ownership, no exclusivity granted.
Sorry, that's
told talks continue with multiple parties. It's almost as though he's had someone tell him the opposite, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Which is bizarre. Like, obviously, there are multiple sources in any, sort of reporters, in any set of reporters, they haven't all got the same source. But Simon Stone, the biggest sports journalist at the BBC, certainly as far as United are concerned, is pretty well connected. I would have thought he's been doing this for a very long time. He is being told clearly by someone that this isn't the case.
Can I just try and read this Reuters article?
Yeah, go for it.
So, this is from Reuters. This was 7 minutes ago. It's been updated.
Yeah.
So, English football club Manchester United is negotiating granting exclusivity to the consortium led by Qatar's Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani in the talks to sell itself for more than $6 billion. People familiar with the matter said on Thursday. Members of the Glazer family, which own minority stakes in Manchester United and control it thanks to dual-class share structure, would be cashing out as part of the proposed deal, one of the sources said. The Qatari offer is currently viewed by the Glazers more favourably than a bid from British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, founder of chemicals producer Ineos, the sources added. Ratcliffe's offer envisions that the Glazers would keep some interest in Manchester United. United is widely seen as one of the most prized assets in all of sport. A £6 billion deal would make the deal one of the biggest sports deals ever, following the similarly sized sale of the National Football League's Washington Commanders earlier this year. Shares of United jumped nearly 15% on the news before pairing some gains. Manchester United would not be allowed to negotiate with any bidder other than Sheikh Jassim for the exclusivity period. It could not be learned how long this period may last. The sources cautioned that the situation remained fluid and a new bid from Ratcliffe could prevent Sheikh Jassim from securing exclusivity. The sources requested anonymity because the matter is confidential. Representatives of Manchester United and Sheikh Jassim did not immediately respond to requests for comment. So
we've also got a tweet in the last, a minute or two as well from Ben Jacobs, who's sort of risen to prominence. I think he's an American journalist. Is it CBS that he works for?
Yeah, Galazzo.
And he's kind of put his face at the front of this story for the last few months, hasn't he? He's tweeted, firm denials from those close to the MUFC sale that any group will be granted exclusivity, despite reports that 9-2 Foundation are negotiating for it. As exclusively revealed, or revelled as he's put, last week, neither 9-2 Foundation or Ineos are expected to be given exclusivity. He said, I also understand that there is unlikely to be a conclusion to the United sale process this week, certainly not in terms of any public or formal announcements. He said, and he's replying to someone else, I've reported there won't be exclusivity negotiations since last week and understand that remains the same. So he is saying not only has there not been any exclusivity granted to the Qatari bid, that the way that the Glazers are selling Manchester United, no one is expected to be given exclusivity at any time throughout this bidding process. What is happening? Who have Reuters got? Get Reuters on the phone now.
Do you know what?
Ethan, Reuters now.
I always thought Reuters was reputable. My old lecturer when I did journalism in undergrad was from Reuters. She came from Reuters background. You always thought Reuters were like proper, they're reliable, they're worldwide. People, hang on their word when they break a story. People go, well, that must be true because it's Reuters. However, with this, everyone else is pretty much saying that's not happening. Well, he's saying firm denials. Like you said earlier, Simon Stone said that's not happening. Let's get into some of the comments. Let us know. Where do you stand on this? And by all means, if you know anything, then let us know. Please get involved. Because at the minute, what did seem like this was the end game now seems to be developing into almost nothing has changed, to be brutally honest.
I cannot understand what's going on.
Toby Ajiwe says, who's getting the sausage rolls? Paul Gill, who's been a member of the Academy for 7 months, says, amazing news to wake up to. Seemed like it's all about to happen. Hopes are high. Keep the great work, guys. Keep up the great work. R.I.P. Gordon McQueen. Thank you. Abhinav Verma, who's been a member of the Academy. I've read that one. Matthew Coward, who's been a member of the Academy for 30 months, says, the Glazers have messed me up. I can't get excited about anything United related. For the fear of Mike Realist, MUFC Realist, TV. It's a great job, lads. Mickey Ruby. Magnum Skywolf says, thanks for all the live videos and the hard work you do. Also, RIP Gordon McQueen. O'Hanlon, 86, who's been a member of the first team for 6 months, says reports that trading shares have been paused. Bloody hell, F the Tories. V4D3R. Today's a momentous day for the fan base. The Glazers are selling, and Jay is live with McDonald's Grimace. Happy days. Toby, there's loads of super chats. I'm going to power through them. Adjui says, bloody hell, I ordered an ungodly amount of sausage and lotion. Are they gone or not? Tina Telefson Totoka says the saga is never ending and is bad for the transfer window. A great point.
Yeah,
because as long as the Glazers will sell, they will put money on the table for players. I think this means they won't put money on the table for players. Rezwan says, you guys have been great on the Takeover coverage, thank you. Z3 Music Official. All I will say is that about 20 minutes ago, the trading of MUFC stocks on the New York Stock Exchange was halted. Take that for what it's worth. Christian Shea says, thankfully seems United drops interest in Kane. Leals David seems like he would be such an amazing fit for Ten Hag's ideal number 9. So loads of people sort of commenting on this, saying at one point, some people saying this is great news, it looks like it's all happening. Others saying, well, is it happening? What is going on? Is it changing? Are we reversing back from the initial story from Reuters, which was that Sheikh Jassim basically had moved into pole position to become the new owner of Manchester United? Just
on the stock thing, you can currently buy shares of Man United stock. So I don't know what that was, why it was paused, if it was paused. But looking at multiple different sort of stock purchasing websites, they are all saying that the stock is open and that it hasn't been paused or halted or whatever the word was before. It does seem as though that everywhere's saying that it's open. So
yeah, someone was saying Plugs LC says it was paused and reopened.
Yeah.
So it looks like Knight says if there's too much volatility in a stock, it gets halted. To me, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know anything
it's
about.
Zipping up and down all over the place.
Yeah,
today.
so maybe there was something in that. I don't understand stocks and shares. Glenn F says, "Wake me up when it's done, please."
Yeah.
Jed's dead, baby. Says Reuters say they're negotiating for exclusivity. So basically, Jassim wants to be the exclusive bidder, but hasn't been granted that yet. Could that be the case? The negotiating for new exclusivity, because that is an odd way to word it, but technically, that could mean they haven't been given it.
But that's not what Reuters are saying, though, is it?
No, it was a bit more emphatic.
Reuters are saying they have been granted.
Yeah, it was a little bit more emphatic than the negotiating with it. V4D3R says, with regards to the sale, it would make sense to listen more closely to finance papers. No, after all, wasn't it BBC Finance that first broke it? BBC Finance on Monday were sort of backing up the story, or one of the chaps from BBC Finance was backing up the story that emanated from that Cardiff Twitter account. So I think there's a lot of confusion at the minute, and it's very difficult to know just what is reliable and what isn't. And the fact that Reuters, who you would think would be on the ball with it, seem to have ran with this. Maybe a little bit ahead of time, because that title or that headline from Reuters is United negotiating exclusivity with Qatar's Sheikh Jassim in $6 billion plus sale talks. Sources: English Football Club, Manchester United. I know I've already gone on this, but if you're just joining us, I'm going to go over it again. This is what started all this frenzy.
Hang on a sec, you might be right here.
Because it says English Football Club, Manchester United is negotiating granting exclusivity to the consortium led by Qatar's Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani in the talks set to sell itself for more than $6 billion.
I thought when I was reading this was meant to say United negotiating exclusively with, but they're not. They are negotiating for exclusivity.
Yeah.
Oh, well, fuck that then. That's not even a story. Hang on, wait. So Qatar and United are going to each other going, give us exclusivity. And United are going, no. Is that it?
It says here, the Qatari offer is currently viewed by the Glazers more favourably.
Which isn't mean exclusivity.
Than a bid by British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And then, it's not really... it says here, Manchester United would not be allowed to negotiate with any bidder other than Sheikh Jassim for the exclusivity period. It could not be learned how long this period may last. The sources caution that the situation remained fluid and a new bid from Ratcliffe could prevent...
This is one of the most sneakily written articles I've ever fucking read in my life, this is. That's what they're saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not saying that United have granted exclusivity to Qatar. They're saying that Qatar and United are negotiating the concept of exclusivity itself.
It's
the
so
cheeky
bizarre
little
as well,
bastards.
because Kieran
They
Maguire...
knew what they're doing there.
Right, this is another thing as well, because everyone was going mad because of this Company's House thing that was registered. Joe's wrecking the set.
Sorry.
That's how excited he is. It says on Company's House, there was this was set up 92 UK Holdings Limited with, I think Sheikh Jassim is listed as one of the owners, and someone else who's associated with him as one of the other ones as well. And it's appointed today. Kieran Maguire said this. He's put company set up in Sheikh Jassim's name, according to what is lodged at Company's House, has $1 worth of shares and controlled by a Qatar-based company. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Could be legit, could be a scam to shift the share price. Company's House does not check accuracy of what is submitted. So, again, it looks legit, but I don't know. Well, I go off Kieran Maguire because he knows about these things. So if he's saying it could be legit, it could be not, that almost means, well, what does this mean then?
The thing with this is, so if we look at this, we get this up full screen so we can read it. The thing obviously on the right hand side there, incorporated on the 15th of June 2023, that's obviously the thing where people have gone, oh shit, this must be happening because Qatar and Sheikh Jassim, if we go to the next one, talking about the people in control of 92 Holdings, you see at the bottom there, Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabbar Al Thani, supposedly has set this up. Again, though, like Kieran Maguire said there, you don't need like proof of ID to set up a business like this, as far as I'm aware, and he said the same thing. We had a look into this address, by the way, this correspondence address, 10 Norwich Street, London. We had a look at that and sort of analysed all of the other companies at that address, currently working out that address, and it is just an office building in London with a mixture of different types of businesses. A lot of them no longer there, some of them sort of in helicopters and sort of multiple different things. But there seems to be no sort of through line with any other Qatari-owned businesses.
I think right now we should roll back on this. I think that the whole Reuters thing has been misleading.
Yeah.
And I think if you sort of scratch beneath the surface, I don't think it means what a lot of people, ourselves included, think it means, because no one's backing it up. People who we think are reliable are saying that isn't the case.
Yeah.
I think the one big story we can go with today that we know has happened is that Rio Ferdinand has done his video saying he's been told from a reliable source, from one of his sources, that a deal is imminent and that Qatar is going to be successful. So I think that, for me, is something you can almost hang your hat on. He's gone big on it. He did a video. And we know Rio, we don't, I know Steve's close to him, but we're not like, bezies. But I doubt he'd go make a video if he hadn't been told by someone he trusts that this is happening. He doesn't need to get, he's doing it for views. Trust me, Rio Ferdinand doesn't need views on YouTube. No. That's not, he's not going to risk his reputation on nonsense just to reach 100k views or whatever. Yeah. So you run through this, and I'll have a little butcher's look and see if there's anything going on. Yeah.
Rio Ferdinand has claimed that the Qatar's Sheikh Jassim has won the race to take over the club, and I think as well, and we'll get to it afterwards, but I think maybe this is the sort of the pebble that started the snowball, because of what Rio Ferdinand has said. We are now, everyone is looking for any reason to back this up, any information that confirms what we've seen here, maybe rather than, and we're sort of realising it now, the finer details of certain articles are actually not quite what they may seem to be. Rio Ferdinand said, the Man United takeover is imminent. We are hearing the Qatari bid is the one that has been accepted, the one that is imminent, and the one that is going to go through. I want this to be resolved before the transfer window kicks in, and now it is opening and starting to move. We are hearing that it is close. It will happen in a matter of days, if not a matter of hours. If it does not, we do not know how much money we have to spend, and United will be playing catch-up. So fingers crossed this information is really true. I have it from a good source that it is true. So he's telling us he has sources that he trusts that are saying this. And then from there, the whole footballing world has sort of scrambled into action, scrambled the jets, and trying to find proof that this is true. Then the Reuters article came out, which I think is purposefully written in a very sneaky, misleading way to make you think that this is happening. It's all kicking off. There's something going down, because when you start, this is the same thing that happened on Monday, right? On Monday, this news broke and it was retweeted by a news agency that had ties to the Qatari royal family. So people thought, well, there must be something in it. Then the share prices went up. So people put two and two together and they thought, well, if you look at that happening and that happening, that surely means that something's popping off. And it's the same today. You had Rio's video, you had the Company House story breaking, and then you had this Reuters story. So all those put together makes you think, well, this is happening. This is it. But no one journalism-wise, in terms of a person rather than just the Reuters, even that's misleading, who you would rely on, whether it's Romano, whether it's Ornstein, whether it's Simon Stone, whether it's any of the tier one journalists where you go, they get their facts straight, has posted anything that indicates it's happening. There's nothing concrete yet to say Qatar are moving forward, the Glazers have accepted them or are moving into a period of exclusivity. It just seems as though there's a lot of sort of theories going around based on very few facts, and the one sort of source for Reuters is an unnamed source. Yeah. So there's no one there from Reuters going, now they might not be able to because it's NDAs and all that, but even that isn't saying it's happening, it's saying they're negotiating a period of exclusivity.
which again is borderline meaningless.
Which is a sort of a step before exclusivity, isn't it? As we're sort of coming to realise now.
I just think that it's just very, very confusing at the minute. Do get involved in the comments in the chat, because 10 minutes ago, not even that, 20 minutes ago, 23 minutes ago, I honestly thought this was the end game.
Me too.
I thought this is happening, and then we're going to be moving forward, and it's going to be Qatar. Now though, you look at it and you go, actually, other than Rio's video, I think Rio's video obviously has some weight to it, because I don't think he just does that without someone he trusts.
Someone has told him something.
Saying something, because he's people saying, oh, well, he's just wanting, people who are questioning it, going, maybe he's just doing it for some clout, whatever. Rio Ferdinand doesn't need to make a video making things up about Qatar taking over.
That'll make him, what, 500 quid?
Yeah, just to get some attention for an hour. He doesn't need that in his life. And it'll be completely counterproductive if it turns out it's not true. Tina Tellefson Totoka says, what is you guys' thoughts about Mbappe and that he's leaving PSG? And do you guys believe that the Qataris will buy him? Will this sell up the transfer window? Will this F up the transfer window anyway? In any way, sorry. What do you reckon?
I don't think we'll get Mbappe. He's probably going to go to Real Madrid, isn't he? Surely they get him. Surely after all this time they managed to get Mbappe, and I'm pretty sure they'll be able to make Mbappe and Vinicius Junior work, even though it looks like they could be playing on the same side. I just don't see what, like, we're going to have to give him 500-600 grand a week, aren't we? The amount of power he's got at PSG and money, he's going to want similar money. He might be willing to take a bit of a pay cut, but I'm hopeful. Do you know what? I'm hopeful United don't get him, because I don't want to start all of a sudden being a team where we're paying 24-year-olds 800 grand a week or whatever he's on now. We've seen how that goes with PSG. PSG have been terribly ran for the last decade. They've won the French league most years, but of course they have. They're spending more than the next highest spending team by about 4 times. Of course they've won the league. When it comes to international tournaments, European tournaments, they've been underwhelming to say the least. And you look at the sort of friction on the pitch and off the pitch, you look at the sort of political turmoil around the CEOs and people coming and going there, managers being turned over every 18 months. I don't want to become the next PSG. And if bringing in Mbappe and giving him a shitload of power is a step towards that, I'd rather not do it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just have a look at some of the comments in here. Alex Buckingham says, in other news, this is a load of old wank. Get Housen to Florida to doorstep them with some questions, FFS. Alia Torres is trying so hard to take this article out of context. Also, I think I've read that as well. Just a load of people commenting now. I mean, yeah, it's all very sort of underwhelming, to be honest with you, because other than like the Rio Ferdinand video, there's nothing that you can go, this is happening now. No. It's the end game. It just feels like something we already knew. Unless
the update is that the Glazers and Sheikh Jassim are now, negotiating this sort of negotiating around a period of exclusivity. Maybe that wasn't happening before. Maybe they've got to a point where they go, right, you're the preferred bidder, so we want to have a period of negotiation that is exclusive. Maybe that has just begun, that conversation. And, it says in that Reuters article as well that Sheikh Jassim's bid is the preferred bid, which up until this week, everyone was saying that Jim Ratcliffe's bid was the preferred bid. So that in itself is a slight update as well. But it's not quite the update that it seemed initially when, you read the headline, Sheikh Jassim negotiating exclusivity. That sounds like he's the only one allowed to talk to Manchester United, and seemingly that isn't the case. He's negotiating for the ability of exclusivity, or the ability to have exclusivity, which is different from how that article, I think, purposefully reads as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit frustrating because at the minute we just seem to be still caught in this limbo. Yeah. That's the problem. The transfer window opened yesterday. We already see that Jude Bellingham's gone to Real Madrid. Yeah. We had Declan Rice could be about to move to Manchester City even. I think sniffing around him. So they don't usually go for players and not end up getting them. I know it does happen sometimes, but very rare. Yeah. And we're trying to negotiate for Mason Mount for 40 million quid. And who else? It's gone a bit quiet, although we were linked with Moses Caicedo.
Yeah, and then rumours that...
it's not exactly the most...
Atalanta. Yeah, go on.
It's not exactly the most sort of heartwarming transfer window so far when you don't know who your owners are going to be and how much your transfer budget is.
Yeah.
Your rivals that have just won the treble are going for one of the most sought-after midfielders in the world, and you're still sort of going through this thing of negotiating for someone who's barely kicked a ball, or where he has kicked a ball, has been playing for a team that just finished 12th. Now, Mason Mount might be a great signing for Manchester United. I'm not knocking the kid, but it just feels a lot of this is underwhelming at the minute. Yeah. We need to move forward. We need a transfer budget sort of guaranteed. Yesterday, there was talk that Sheikh Jassim was going to hand Eric Ten Hag more money to spend. You'd imagine Sir Jim Ratcliffe, if he was successful, would be able to hand some money to Eric Ten Hag. But if neither of them have moved into pole position, that isn't going to happen. And also, how long is all this going to take? Even if one of them was granted exclusivity, how long is that going to take? And we're not even at that stage yet. No. And according to your man Ben Jacobs, we might not be there for a little while.
Yeah.
So
should we talk about these transfers?
Yeah, go on. Let's get into it.
Caicedo's one coming out of the Times today, and this was basically, like you said, centred around an article looking at Arsenal's interest in Caicedo, and this is coming from the Times again, reputable source saying Arsenal would prefer a deal for Rice to be concluded before the club's pre-season tour to the United States, which begins when they play an MLS All-Stars team on July the 19th. Separately, although perhaps not unrelated to Rice's valuation, Arsenal have withdrawn their interest in Moises Caicedo, who was one of their targets at the start of the summer. Brighton and Hove Albion have conceded that the midfielder will leave the club in this transfer window, but are thought to want at least 80 million. Chelsea and Manchester United are interested in the Ecuador international. I don't know if he would be an alternative to Mount. He's not really the same type of player at all as Mason Mount. Obviously really highly rated, a player that they got for, 3 or 4 million a couple of seasons ago. United were linked with him at the time as well, didn't get him in the end. Would you be happy with Caicedo? What does he bring to United? Is he a sort of next to Casemiro? Is he a backup to Casemiro? Is he, what do you make of it?
I like Caicedo.
Yeah.
I think he's a highly talented midfielder. And it's easy to get caught up in the whole Brighton thing and say, oh, well, a year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, everyone wanted to use Basuma and he was shocking at Spurs. But I think Caicedo is a better footballer, a better player. He's had some good performances against Manchester United as well. I know it's not the be-all and end-all, but you can't fail to be impressed when you watch someone play extremely well against your side, which he has pretty much always done, if memory serves. Yeah. Every time we've played Brighton, I always seem to think of him having a bit of a worldie. And he would fit straight in. I think he could play alongside Casemiro.
Yeah.
I don't think he comes in as a reserve. I think maybe you alter it slightly and someone like Christian Eriksen maybe drops out. I like Christian Eriksen, but if you're having to take someone out of that midfield, maybe you take him out, have Casemiro and Caicedo, and maybe Bruno is just pushed even a little bit further up the field. But I definitely think he's a player he can do with. Also, we need some options.
Yeah.
Because Sabitzer came in on loan, got injured. He's obviously not going to be around. Yes, we're going for Mason Mount. We've got some good youngsters in the likes of Charlie Savage and Zidane Iqbal. How ready are they for Premier League football? Probably not. So you need someone like this. And this kid, who everyone's raving about, and Arsenal were going to get him in January, weren't they? It looked like that was going to happen. And then didn't Brighton ban him from the training ground or something? They just said, you're not going into Arsenal. Don't bother coming in.
Banished.
Until the was it February the 1st, I think, once the transfer window shut. Then you can come back in because we're not having a chat with you until then. So it was pretty. It was quite a good move by them, to be honest with you, because they were like, look, you're not going anywhere. Just deal with it. And then I think whilst he was sort of not playing for them, they beat Liverpool and they had some good results. Yeah. And then he obviously came back into the team and helped them to get to a pretty high finish. So I like the kid. If we can get him, great. I'm just a bit wary of the fact there's a lot of other clubs sniffing around. And also, Brighton, they don't tend to get the pants pulled down, do they? I know Alex McAllister went for quite cheap, didn't he? But I think he had a buyout clause. So
it's like 35 million rising up to 55 or something, wasn't it?
I think he was a bit of a different one. So, yeah, this makes sense, but again,
in fairness,
how much money have we got?
When you actually think about it, they don't get a lot of money for players, do they? Basuma was quite cheap as well. What was he, like 25 million to Tottenham?
Yeah.
And McAllister was like 35.
Yeah, to be fair, they weren't
But maybe
massive.
they just weren't that
I think it was
highly rated.
Cucurella was the big one, wasn't
he was 50.
And he was terrible.
60 even, yeah, that was a big one.
But even like you
more
say...
on Chelsea than it is on Brighton.
Was Trossard at Brighton? Trossard... I mean, Morpay was a reserve, but he didn't really count.
No.
Cucurella, Basuma, who was the other kid? Sorry, McAllister.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Burn. How much did you pay for Dan Burn?
Ben White's a good example.
13 mil. Sorry,
yeah.
for how much was Ben White?
50. Yeah.
Right, so they're not astronomical fees, are they? And Ben White was we were linked with Ben White as well, weren't we?
Yeah.
So these are fees that are like reasonable.
Yeah.
I hate this.
Yeah.
We are 80 million FC.
I know.
Every single player we're linked with is 80 million. Half the players we buy at 80 million, it seems.
Let me stop you there.
Go on.
Rasmus Højlund.
Yeah. Oh, is he 80 million now?
According to the Daily Mail, Atalanta want 86 million for him. Have you seen this, Jay?
What?
Atalanta held a meeting
Sorry,
earlier
I'm
this
not
week
ignoring you, by the
when
way.
it was
I'm just
decided.
trying to-
Sorry, you're getting your journalism on. When it was decided this week, they would demand closer to 86 million pounds, which is 100 million euros, for the 20-year-old who still has 4 years left on his contract. Højlund has recently signed a short-term representation deal with agency SEM, who also represent Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag. Ten Hag wants a proven striker. Hence United's initial pursuit of Tottenham's Harry Kane. The Dutch boss also wanted United to bring in a younger player, budget permitting, who could develop. United were hoping Højlund would be closer to the £45 million mark. They want 100 million for him now, according to the Daily Mail. What is that?
You see,
How on earth could you want that?
every time I see a deal for United,
Yeah.
I look at it and I think, this makes sense. Like, Mount for 40 million quid or 50
Love a
million.
little signing.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's not exactly top of my list, but a good Premier League proven Champions League winning player, 24 years old. Numbers are decent, okay. Even if you're not too enamoured of him, the manager wants him 40 to 50 million quid, great. And then it's now Chelsea want 80 million for him. This kid had a great season at Atalanta. He's 20 years old. Yeah, we need someone more long-term because we keep signing these 30-odd-year-old strikers.
Yeah.
Sounds great, and I think the original figures being bandied around was something like anything between 20 or 40, depending on who you read. And then it just skyrockets again.
And
86 million.
The maddest thing as well is, do you know last season when I know he had a bit of a really poor season, but Rashford was linked with sort of moves to PSG and Barcelona, and they were talking between like 60 and 80 million for him. A person who's proven to hit 20 plus goals, even then, multiple times in the Premier League. And now we're talking about this lad who 18 months ago was dropped by a Danish team, got swept up by Atalanta, had a decent 6 months, and then has actually sort of dribbled, toward the end of the season with not many goals. And this isn't meant to be a dig at him because I would like to sign him. I think he looks very promising, but he's hardly proven in any way. He's had one good season, and even his good season has been quite good. It's not blown anyone away with this season. He's not, taken Europe by storm. How on earth could you possibly ask for 86 million quid for what his career has been and what he has done so far? It's genuinely obscene. And when United try and sell players who are way more proven than that, we are ballpark for a quarter or a third. You can imagine Rasmus Højlund signing for Bayern Munich for 28 million quid, couldn't you? Do you know what I mean? Bayern Munich signed Mane last season. What was it, 29 million pounds? Sadio Mane, one of the most proven wingers. I know he's been shit, funnily enough, but one of the most proven wingers in Europe for the last 5 seasons, year in, year out, smashing it for Liverpool. They got him for under 30 million quid, and we're being quoted 86.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is true, obviously it's the Mail, so they're one of them. You put them in that middle bracket of they've got sources, but they're willing to sort of push it a little bit. But what is going on, Jay? How can that be true? Can it be true? It can't, surely.
No, I mean, the idea that the demand closer to 86 million seems a stretch. And also from their point of view, how much did we pay for Amad Diallo from him?
20 going up to 40.
20 going up to 40, but he played like an hour of professional football.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a punt, to say the least. But yes, they could hold on to him and they could get more money next season, but they also couldn't.
Yeah.
Next season he might get 5 goals
Yeah.
and his stock falls, and then you're lucky if you can get 40 million for him or whatever. So I don't know, it does seem a little bit excessive, and I certainly wouldn't want Manchester United to pay 6 million because of the reasons you've given as well. The price tag matters, man. It does. We see it all the time with players that come to United and they've got these massive price tags. If Anthony was 40 million quid, no one would have batted an eyelid. No. It's that whole thing of 100 million euros or 100 million euros. Maguire, 80 million quid, he's got to be better than Van Dijk if he's going to cost 80 million quid. Yeah. Even though he's never really been that kind of, that calibre of player.
No.
And it's the same with a few, Sancho, 70 odd million quid. That's all you hear now.
Yeah.
Sancho's price tag because he's had a bit of a disappointing spell.
Yeah.
That is it. It gets into I think it gets into players' heads as well.
Like, not only is it hard to buy a player that is technically good enough to play for Man United. That task in itself is already really, really difficult. But do you know how much harder it is when not only have they got to be tactically and technically good enough for Man United, but so mentally strong that they can sort of shrug off the extra pressure that comes with being way overpriced. Like, you have to add in another whole factor to this person's character. Can he not only play for Man United? Can he score goals in the Premier League? Can he also handle what an absolute shitstorm Twitter is going to be if you don't get a goal in August this season? Like, has he got that side to him as well? United players have to have the entire package, otherwise they're going to end up being failures.
Yeah.
We've seen what it can do to players. We've seen, you know, players admit that the price tag, that the pressure of playing for Man United was too much for them. You know, even someone like Antonio Valencia, who never struck me as a player that struggled mentally with football or with anything. He said the number 7 shirt was sort of too big for me. That you know, I didn't feel comfortable wearing that shirt. Like, that's just the number 7 shirt. Let alone, you look at the stick Maguire gets on Twitter, like buffoon, joke, clown, 80 million this, 80 million that. You think he's also got, you know, he's not good enough to play for Man United, but no one, you know, we didn't get this when Dan James wasn't good enough to play for Man United because he cost 20 million quid or 13 million quid. You've got to be such a huge character and personality to be able to live with this stress and pressure that you get from this price tag. And it's not fair on these players. I think United have to do a better job with negotiating.
Sean Shine says, Joe's gone from dinosaur theme park owner to Fred Dibner this week. Who's Fred Dibner?
Fred Dibner, he's I don't know what you sort of call him, a kind of physical jack of all trades. He likes going on like a steam engine.
Oh, right,
he likes climbing up a sort of a tower near a regional arts centre in perhaps Bristol or Brighton. He's a sort of do-it-all TV presenter from the 70s, 80s and 90s and 1000s.
Jibak Sahu says exactly what happens when Atalanta knows we don't have Kane as an option anymore. Højlund are our first choice and Atalanta knows we are desperate. Sidan Badam says at this point, if we want Ollie Watkins as an option, they'll slap a 75 million price tag on him as well. I actually think we would, to be honest with you.
I do.
I think if we did go for Ollie Watkins,
I'll tell you what, I can see
that's what
us
you'd end up paying for him.
Going and spending like 60 million on fucking Callum Wilson or something. Do you know what I mean? Just someone who scored a few goals last season and he just cost way too much. Last second of the window. Who did well last year? Callum Wilson, 60 million.
Akshit Ray says Jay will never read my comments. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I'm never reading one of their comments.
No way.
That's just not happening. Hook says, feels like playing Wii Sports Bowling. That moment of hype, it's a strike, it's happening, only for one pin to stay up. When's it gonna end, lads? When is it going to end, Joseph?
Seemingly not this week, which is just bonkers. It felt like about an hour ago. Do you know when before the Big Bang?
Yeah.
And this sort of just a collection of kind of gases that are slowly achieving untold energy. Yeah. That's what this story felt like to me. Like just seconds before the Big Bang, where everything was about to explode, and then you saw the Reuters article, and you thought, "Here we go, boys." You know, the solar system's about to exist, and then no, just a sort of a bit more gas knocking about, and that nothing's happened yet. It's all bullshit. I don't even understand.
Yep. Just to quickly recap before we wrap up. So the sort of the timeline of events today. Rio Ferdinand did a video about 3 hours ago now, where he said that he'd heard the Qatar bid was going to be successful, an announcement would be imminent. He said that this afternoon. We then had, you can see it here, so Rio Ferdinand has claimed that Qatari Sheikh Jassim has won the race to take over the club. So he was like, look, Sheikh Jassim's won, it's been told by a reliable source, you're going to get an announcement. He said imminently, I think he said within days or maybe even hours. Then within hours, you have, this sort of, on social media, you see all these links to the company's house page, or whatever you want to call it, which shows that the 9-2 Foundation has been registered as a company. Good stuff here. 15th of June, obviously today's date. When we looked at the filing history and the people involved, it looks certainly the right names and dates of births are on it. So people that we know are involved with the Qatari bid. So, I mean, it's not proof, but it fits into this narrative that something is happening. So you look at that, you go, okay, maybe there's something going down here. Maybe Rio Ferdinand was talking, his source was reliable. Then you had Reuters.
Well, before that, there was the supposed stock pausing, wasn't there? The halting of the stocks.
So you got the stock market sort of rising. probably on the back of this news, if we're being brutally honest.
Yeah.
Then it was paused, which I think can sometimes happen if there's a lot going on. Then you have this from Reuters, which said United negotiating exclusivity with Qatar's Sheikh Jassim, $6 billion plus sale talks. Now, for a lot of us, I thought that looked like, okay, especially when you had the Rio stuff, the company's house, the stock market stuff, this is moving forward in Sheikh Jassim's favour.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going to be given the green light. He's going to be the new owner of Manchester United. Yeah. However, when you sort of scratch beneath the surface and look at how it's worded, it doesn't mean a lot.
It depends which way you're reading it. So if you read it wanting it to mean, or thinking that it means that Qatar have exclusivity already, you could read it as Manchester United is negotiating, granting exclusivity to the consortium led by Qatar's Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad. Like, you could phrase it, if there's a comma there, which there isn't, as though they are negotiating and that negotiation has granted exclusivity, and that's the place we're in. However, if you read it, Manchester United is negotiating, granting exclusivity to the consortium, then it's more clear that what they're saying is the thing that's being negotiated here isn't the purchase of Manchester United, it's the concept of giving them exclusivity, which seemingly hasn't happened. And we've had other journalists, Simon Stone and Ben Jacobs, saying that, in fact, that hasn't happened. Ben Jacobs going as far as to say there will currently, as things stand, the Glazers do not want to give exclusivity at any point during the deal and the process of selling Manchester United. So that is not just not happened, or not just hasn't happened, but won't happen either.
I'm just going to wrap up with this little sort of thread from Faisal Islam, who he was talking about this on Monday. He works for the BBC and he sort of deals with, I think he works for Newsnight, does a lot to do with finance as well. He's an economy editor. Yep. So he says he's done a bit of a thread, and he was like, United shares surging up 15% to $26 after Reuters report saying exclusive negotiations proceeding with the Qatari bid. Yeah. So he read it as that. Some signs of further paperwork from Qatari bidders with details emerging of UK incorporation of 92 Foundation at the offices of McFarlane's law firm, which has acted to form on behalf of the Jassim family, and Qatari incorporation of LLC. United shares were halted because they shot up so much on the Reuters exclusive report. They've now reopened about 10% up. He's then got a link to the Reuters report. He then goes on to say, sources denied to my colleague Simon Stone that exclusivity is being granted. His explanation, this is Faisal Islam's explanation, as we have suggested all week, Qatari bid now ahead with the latest, last question mark, bid unsubtle nudge to Ineos to act if they want to change that. So he's saying, look, this looks like Qatari's in the lead. If Ineos want to change that, this is the Glazers giving them a nudge.
How many fucking nudges is there going to be?
It's a shambles like anything else associated with the Glazer family. It's a farce. Yeah. And the ones that end up suffering are the fans of Manchester United Football Club. Because, to quote Al Pacino, just when I thought they were out, they pulled me back in. Yeah. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. If we do hear anything, there are any developments, if Rio Ferdinand's source comes back to him or whatever, or he gives an update that something that's happening, then we will keep you posted. So make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Joseph, where can people find you?
Just here. Every time there's breaking news, I'll be on Stretford Paddock. So hit the notification bell as well, because we'll be live every single time something big is popping off. Isn't that right, Jay?
It is. I think someone just said that Reuters have just tweeted. So they have as well.
Fuck off.
So Reuters have just tweeted, sorry, we were about to go, I just want to read this. It says exclusive.
No, I think it's the same.
Is it the same thing?
Go on,
right.
Read it out.
It just says exclusive. English Football Club Manchester United is negotiating granting exclusivity to the consortium led by Qatar Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani in talks to sell itself for more than $6 billion. People familiar with the matter have said members of the Glazer family, which own minority stakes in Manchester United and control it thanks to dual class share structure, would be cashing out as part of the deal. The Qatari offer is currently viewed by the Glazers more favourably than a bid from British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, founder of Ineos, sources have added. So
but that is saying, sort of a restructuring of the article rather than new information.
They're saying Qatar looks like they're winning and they're favoured, but they're not done yet. Okay. And when they are, or anything happens, we will keep you posted.
Close, I think. Something's good. It feels close now, doesn't it? It does feel close. It feels like things are moving in the right direction.
It does, and also just another shout out as well to Gordon McQueen, sorry, who passed away. Rest in peace. Thoughts with his family as always. Joe, big thank you to you for trying to unpick the bones of that chaotic hour
it's kicking
where
off,
it was all kicking off. Hopefully we'll have some more news sooner rather than later. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Moy. This has been a bit of breaking news with Takeover Chaos. Thanks for watching.